I think a lot of us weren't properly taught how to really navigate and deal with our emotions, right? A lot of us, we fight against our emotions. We resist them, we repress them. And in doing so, we make an enemy out of our emotions instead of making them our friends, right? And see, here's the thing. There's no such thing as a wrong emotion. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. Every single emotion, no matter what it is justified. Whether it's hatred, anger, anxiety, fear, all of it is justified. No, I'm not telling you to act out of your emotion, and I'm not saying for you to always react out of your emotions, right? Because when you begin to react out of your emotions, you've allowed yourself to be controlled by your emotions. And that's even worse than you suppressing your emotions. Because then you begin to do things that you probably wouldn't have done if you were conscious and aware of what you were doing, right? So that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that it's okay for you to feel your emotions. It's okay for you to be present with them without the need to change them instantaneously or change them in the moment. It's okay for you to sit with your emotions and just allow them to be as they are. It's okay. The thing that no one really talks about as it pertains to our emotions, or very few people talk about it, right, is that whenever you feel a negative emotion, that negative emotion is almost always, or always connected to a negative belief that you're not conscious of. That emotion that you feel is connected to something that is unconscious, and your emotions are sort of serving as a guide or sort of a marker telling you that you need to be aware of something within your unconscious or your subconscious that you're not aware of. And this is what I mean when I say that when you begin to suppress and resist your emotions, you make them your enemy instead of listening to them and sitting with them and making them your friend. Right? When you resist them, you don't allow your emotions to work in your favor. And then you begin to work against your own self. Right? Let's say you're a guy, right? And you see a girl and you go to her and you approach her and you shoot your shot, right? And she tells you no, she's not interested. Or let's say you're a woman and you've been talking to a guy for a while, right? And you're ready for a relationship with him, but he tells you that he's not ready for a relationship, or that he doesn't see you in that way, right? And then because of that interaction, you begin to feel this deep empty feeling or empty void within you, and you begin to question your value or question your worth, right? That emotion or feeling that you feel is connected to a negative belief that you are holding on to. That emotion or feeling or whatever didn't arise from the other person. Sure, they might have been the catalyst to sort of initiate it, but that feeling that you felt was something that was rooted in your unconscious. And 9 times out of 10, that feeling that you feel is connected to some degree of you feeling unworthy, simply because a person doesn't respond to you in which you expect them to respond to you. Or that feeling is connected to the idea that you believe that your sense of self-worth is connected to how a person responds to you, or is connected to how a person treats you, etc., etc., right? So in order for you to get the benefit of your emotion, in order for you to sort of peer into your soul and understand what is going on within you, you need to sit and listen to your emotions. You need to allow them to be as they are. You need to be aware, right? Anthony DeMello has this quote that I've often said on this channel if you watch my previous videos. And the quote says, "What you are aware of, you are in control of. What you are not aware of is in control of you," right? And I want you guys to sit with that quote for a minute. Really ponder on it. And whatever emotion that you're feeling in this moment, I want you to sort of get in touch with that emotion. Don't resist it. Don't fight it. Don't repress it. Sit with it. And while you're sitting with it, really ponder on the quote that I just gave to you, or what I just said to you. Right? And I want you to think about how you've allowed that negative belief that is connected to that feeling to control your life. Or how you've allowed that negative belief in your subconscious to control how you feel about yourself. Right? Really ponder on what it is that is behind that feeling or that emotion. If you haven't been aware prior to watching this video, become aware of it. Get to the root of it. Right? Get to what it is that you are holding on to, or what it is that you're believing that is causing you to feel that emotion. Really question it. Right? And when you go deeply and you really ponder on it and you become aware, you sort of begin to shine light on that negative belief. Right? You begin to shine light on that thing that has been holding you back and been holding your life back. You know, awareness is a very powerful thing. When we fight against our emotions, we're sort of fighting the darkness of our unconscious with even more darkness. But the thing that awareness does, right, is that awareness is you shining light on that darkness. And the only way for you to overcome the darkness is not to fight the darkness with more darkness, right? It's for you to shine the light on the darkness. And that is why awareness is such a powerful thing. You know, I would describe awareness as the catalyst of change. Awareness is the very thing that initiates great change, right? Once you become aware and you become aware of what it is that is behind those emotions and what it is that has been controlling you for the longest, you're no longer a puppet to it. You're no longer controlled by it. You become the one that is in control, right? You become the one that has the power. Now, the beautiful thing about awareness is that, and Antoine DeMello describes awareness as sort of like a catalyst that creates change, but in a non-violent way. See, a lot of us create great internal suffering when we fight against ourselves and we fight against our emotions. We make our situation and our feelings even worse. But when you become aware, a sort of natural change begins to take place. A change begins to take place that is not forced, right? It's completely natural. And what you sort of begin to do is you sort of begin to separate yourself from your emotions, and you begin to realize that your emotions are not you, right? The things that are beyond those emotions or behind those emotions are not you either. And so you begin to gain control and you begin to sort of gain possession of yourself when you become aware, when you sit in that awareness and in that emotion that you're feeling in the moment without the need to fight it. Once you get to the root of it and you shine light on the unconscious beliefs that you're holding on to, then great change begins to occur in your life, right? You know, oftentimes I look back at my life and I look back at, you know, some of the things that would sort of affect me mentally and negatively. And I realized that those things don't affect me as much as they used to. They don't create those emotions that they once created within me. And it's not because I force myself to change. It's not because I fought against those feelings. The thing that created the change within me was the fact that I became aware of what it was that was holding me back. I became aware of the negative beliefs that I was holding on to. And just the mere act of seeing, right? Seeing those things that I accepted as truth created great change within me without me forcing it, right? Oftentimes in my past, I would allow people's opinion of me to, allow me to feel a certain way about myself. A person would pass a comment about me, how I look, whatever it is, how I act, and I would take it personally. But that when I got to the root of it, I realized that the reason why those things affected me as much was because I was seeking validation from other people. And oh, by the way, if you haven't watched my previous video about validation, I recommend you guys go check it out. But I realized that the reason why those things were affecting me was because I was sort of holding on to the idea or the false belief that my value was predicated on how people responded to me. But once I got to the root of all that, once I sat with that feeling and I really pondered and I became aware, I realized that it was just a false belief. It wasn't true. Nothing can determine my value. So oftentimes the only thing that you really need to create change in your life is awareness. Awareness is a very powerful thing. Awareness is a sort of what I would describe as surrender, right? Surrendering or giving up the need to control how you feel in the moment and just seeing. And from that act of seeing, forces begin to work for you. Forces begin to work in your favor. And those forces are the things that create deep change, divine change within you, right? And so I say all this to say, you need to get to a point in which you stop fighting against your emotions. Stop resisting them. The more you fight against them is the more suffering or the more internal turmoil that you inflict on yourself. When you're faced with a negative feeling, all you need to do is to 1, sit with that feeling, and 2, ask yourself what it is that you believe or what it is that is behind that negative feeling. All you have to do is become aware. Now, once you become aware and you begin to really see that negative belief that you're holding on to, and you begin to really see how false that negative belief is, then that emotion begins to change and dissipate by itself. So there's nothing you really need to do when it comes down to your emotions. Just sit with them. Become aware. Become the controller instead of you allowing yourself to be controlled. And from that awareness and you taking back your power, great things begin to happen in your life. And great things begin to happen within you. You begin to become a completely different person merely from the act of just seeing and awareness, right? So once again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for clicking this video. And I really hope you become more aware of what it is that you're holding on to or you believe that is causing you great pain, right? Become aware. I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.